that they violated those treaties and that they helped through judges through the court system that continues to uphold lies and racist ideologies. If you saw, Pope Francis recently repudiated the doctrine of discovery. Now the Paiute and Shoshone people, because they are on their own land, they are in their own country, this is unceded territory, according to the United States, which means that this is still Paiute Shoshone territory, legally and lawfully. That's one thing. Now the Paiute Shoshone people need direct access to this stuff, called Nipple Rock. And what the mining company is doing is destroying a whole swath of land, a mere 50 meters from this very precious.
Good afternoon, everybody, our relatives across the country. My name is Mni Wiconi. I am the Tribal Historic Preservation Officer for the Reno Sparks Indian Colony. I have been asked today to come out to PeeHee Mu'huh and to PeeHee, also known as Nipple Rock or Sentinel Butte. I have been asked by the Fort McDermott Paiute Shoshone tribal elders, descendants of Oksam, one of the surviving members, one of 3 survivors of the September 12th, 1865 massacre that occurred out here at PeeHee Mu'huh. They asked me to come out to monitor this giant construction that is happening today and had started over a month or almost 2 months ago, because there are no tribal monitors out here, and so we were asked, the elders had asked me to come out today and to take a look, and I got emotional because it's very destructive to see what is happening out here. So again, I am the TIPO for the Reno Sparks Indian Colony, and I want to talk a little bit about what this place is and the meaning is, and how BLM Winnemucca has failed to follow the National Historic Preservation Act. This, what you just seen the cameraman do live, showing you all this area, this space. We as Paiute and Shoshone people, probably indigenous people all over the world, we don't have fences, boundaries, and lines. That's personal property. That's not what we have traditionally or today. This area may be BLM managed, Bureau of Land Management land, but this Bureau of Land Management, but this is also, before that, is Paiute and Shoshone territory. Where you're looking at behind me is PeeHee, and it's an important traditional cultural property. A couple months ago, several members of the Reno Sparks Indian Colony came out here and we lit a fire. We were out here with the Fort McDermott Paiute Shoshone tribal elders, the Sam sisters, as well as other elders. We came out here and we lit a fire and we prayed and we circle danced and told stories and talked about how important this place is. It is a traditional cultural place for the Paiute and Shoshone people. Right over here to the left of me, and the left of, and I am right now facing south, but to the left of me is where a small village was of Paiute and Shoshone people, possibly 31 to 70 Paiute and Shoshone people, and across the valley is where the cavalry camped the night before. And on September 12th, 1865, early in the morning, the cavalry attacked from both sides, and that where the village is where the massacre started. Our people, the ancestors, ran out of their village and ran up and over. On the other side of PeeHee is a little gully where you can go through right now, and people ran up and all over. And Sam is a survivor of that, and the grandmas will talk about that. Also, 2 babies were in one of the huts, and the cavalry, we know this from all the cavalry writings. One of the cavalrymen said there was 2 babies still in one of the huts, and before they murdered or killed those babies, Mr. Charlie Thacker had said, wait a minute, can I have those babies? And he raised them up, and they eventually went back to the Paiute people. So I want to talk a little bit about, so during the process, and several of the laws that take place to permit this project is the National Environmental Policy Act and the National Historic Preservation Act. There are others, but today, this afternoon, I want to talk about the National Historic Preservation Act. With you. The National Historic Preservation Act, that assesses historic properties. Historic properties is what you see here, what you see this as Piza'a, a place that is important. The historic properties are also Native American sites, historic, European historic sites, bridges and objects, and so this BLM, as part of the permitting process through the National Historic Preservation Act, has to assess the historic properties. And this was never assessed in a way that was true, meaningful government-to-government consultation with any of the tribes. And I tell you that because the environmental impact statement, the record of decision, the cultural resources inventory done by non-native archaeologists surveying, as well as the historic properties treatment plan and the memorandum of agreements, the agreement documents, all those documents I just mentioned are part of the permitting process. None of those documents I've named have ever been reviewed, monitored, or responded or commented on. And so the massacre that began down here and occurred all the way up into PeeHee Mu'huh, Thacker Pass is never mentioned in any of those documents. And that's a problem because that is in our Native American oral histories, the Paiute and Shoshone oral histories, as well as in written documents, in cavalry notes, in Bureau of Land Management's own GLOW documents, they call it, General Land Office General Land Office documents. There's also autobiographies out there written by a union organizer who wrote about it and interviewed Sam about this time. So there is documentation of this place, of the massacre that started down here and again continued up here. There are unmarked burial grounds up here, and even though it doesn't say cemetery, this is the resting final place of our Native American Paiute and Shoshone people. And so back to the National Historic Preservation Act, when you assess those historic properties, those are the type of things you assess, and you should do an ethnography. If you truly investigated as a federal agency, as the Department of Interior, Bureau of Land Management, when you assess historic properties through the National Historic Preservation Act, that's true consultation. You go and you talk to the tribes and you talk to the elders and you talk to people, the knowledgeable people, and you make a determination with the experts of the tribe, of the Native American tribe, who are usually elders and they're historians. You make a determination and you author an ethnography, and that ethnography would describe how important PeeHee Mu'huh is, how important this area is for picking medicines, for coming to pray, for coming to hunt, but also one of the last known habitat sites of the sage grouse that is listed I believe, on the Endangered Species Act, and then it was removed from it. And this is one of its last habitats. and the animals, all the antelope, the eagles that are out here. And Lithium Mining received a permit from the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Services, an eagle take permit. So because this mining construction project or the mine is going to harass the eagles, Lithium has the authority to take those nests and those eagles out of here. And so that's why you have to write a determination of eligibility, and what that is through the National Historic Preservation Act, and you submit that to put this place on the National Register of Historic Places, because places like this that hasn't been written about and first determined if it's eligible for the National Register of Historic Places, and the construction is happening, that is, to me, to a tribal historic preservation officer, wrong and illegal. It's not appropriate to come in and build the largest lithium mine in the country and possibly the world and not assess the historic properties and determine that this place is eligible for the Register of Historic Places. Now, because that didn't happen and the record of decision was signed in September 2021, January 2021, the Reno Sparks Indian Colony Tribal Historic Preservation Office wrote to BLM Winnemucca and said, this was back in March, April-ish 2021, and told them, this is a traditional cultural property. Although not formally designated, it has all the elements associated to a traditional cultural property. Please, and it must be evaluated. And BLM never acknowledged. And then we also talked about how the massacre was down, the village was down here. And when you evaluate that, you evaluate the massacre. You evaluate the massacre where it began and how it went on, but you also evaluate where the cavalry camped. You evaluate where the cavalry attacked from both sides. You evaluate all of that. You just don't evaluate one certain thing. It's all associated as one. And so the cavalry, where they camped the night before, where they attacked, where the village was, and where the village massacre started, and where all the people ran up and over. And the cavalry notes even say that Ox Sam ran and jumped on a horse, and they said a young man ran and jumped on a horse, and then Ox Sam several years later, as an older man, said he did run. He jumped that horse and ran north and ran west and then went north up to another traditional cultural place, Disaster Peak. And so we, as the Reno Sparks Indian Colony, when we asked the BLM to assess this as a traditional cultural property, they never answered our question until we had to go to the Advisory Council on Historic Preservation to tell them they are not listening to the experts. Tribal people, we're the experts of our culture, and it is not up to a non-native Bureau of Land Management official or even non-native archaeologists to determine who their expertise to our culture. And so not until last year, 2022, is when we finally did go to the Advisory Council on Historic Preservation and let them know that we please advise BLM that this needs to be determined, and that because of these criterias according to the National Register of Historic Places, for all you people out there that know this, there's criterion A, B, C, and D, and that and archaeologists, they always just use D because they want science. They want to excavate and pull science. Well, A and B and C are just as important: events, structures, houses. But anyway, I'm not going to get into that and do a big presentation. I just want to explain that, and then just until this past 3 months ago, February 2023, the Reno Sparks Indian Colony in the Summit Lake Paiute tribe, authored by our attorney, Mr. Will Falk, authored a determination of eligibility for this place and turned it in, 109-page. And one of the ethnographers that we know, a friend, said that's $100,000 project you just did. So that's why tribes that are poor, we can't go around and determine eligibilities at all our sacred places when it costs that much money. We're poor tribes here. But I'm getting off the subject. I'm sorry about that. But the determination of eligibility was turned in to the Advisory Council on Historic Preservation, the Bureau of Land Management, Winnemucca, and finally did they turn around like a few weeks, I don't have my paperwork with me, a month later, and finally acknowledged this place was probably eligible, and they could determine it, and they would put that determination, submit it to the National Park Service. But they would not stop construction while we could mitigate the adverse effects. So with a project this large out here, they're still constructing. So again, the National Historic Preservation Act has been, has not been followed out here by Lithium, Nevada, or Bureau of Land Management, Bureau of Land Management, Winnemucca. That's important to say. As you see behind me, you can just notice that that is a traditional cultural property. It's an important place. Paiute and Shoshone people came up here traditionally, and some still do come up here. And you'll have folks out there saying, oh, the Indians don't go up there. Well, you know what? We don't put it on Facebook, and there's not a flyer. Somebody's coming up here, an individual or several individuals to come up and pray. This place is important, and it is eligible for the National Register of Historic Places. And we have done our best to make sure that we have made this place important and making sure that we can put that on the listing, because during the NEPA process, the National Environmental Policy Act, that did not take place. And that makes you wonder, why did that not happen here? Why is it that that did not happen? Again, this was a project rushed through, and a project this big was rushed through in 9 months. A project like this needs to take 4 years, and that's how you determine an eligibility. As the Reno Sparks Indian Colony TIPO, I would not send tribal monitors out here, because that to us is in a I would say it's in a metaphysical world right now, that we have unmarked burials out here. We told the BLM, we've told Nevada, we've told Lithium, Nevada, and they refuse to listen to us. And sometimes they say that it's the I can't remember the legal term, but we would not send our monitors out here. Instead, the elders and the Fort McDermott Paiute Shoshone tribal elders and descendants of Oksam have put a prayer camp up called the Oksam Newe Momokonee Nokotun camp. It's the Oksam Indigenous Women's Camp. They've set a camp up here. It's a prayerful ceremony camp, so that they're praying with the burials and the dead ancestors and these unmarked burial grounds, because of the disturbance that is happening in their final resting place out here. And we would like to say that I know that this is a hard time and a hard place, but you can't destroy the world to save the world, just for a few people to get rich on. This lithium mine, again, is going to be the biggest in the country and possibly the world, to help build electric vehicles of this new green energy. And they need lithium, cobalt, they need nickel, and they need copper. And we're not being helped out here to say, wait, whoa, stop. This is a traditional cultural property. We've always used this place. We continue to use this place, and it needs to be designated as a historic property, as a traditional cultural property, according to the National Historic Preservation Act, and put on the register, the National Register of Historic Places. That's important. And I do want to shout out to our relatives down in Oak Flat, fighting hard to keep their sacred space open, because they're fighting the copper mine. And we have to remember that electric vehicles will not save the world and save the earth. We need to come up with new ideas of how we need to do green energy better. And maybe we can talk about that on the next live. Please look in. We're starting to see all these new articles about electric vehicles. They're a environmental disaster. Again, don't destroy the earth to save the earth. We're going to go into where the descendants of Oksam are, and they'll be able to tell and explain a little bit more. But thank you for letting me explain. Don't go. We're still going to stay on live about what a traditional cultural property is, according to a tribal historic preservation officer. So, thank you. But we're moving in. We're moving in.
Would you like to hear from Steve knows or what he...
Yeah, and you can introduce yourself too.
Okay, my name is Elvira Sam Crusher, and I am from Fort McDermott Indian Reservation. And what I kind of heard about them talking, that he was the one that was left behind and telling his testimony, what he's seen. That's all, I was told, and I haven't really seen that paper. I guess one of our sisters have it. So I don't know who gave it to her. I don't really know about that, but that's all that I know. And we are, part of his blood, Oksam's, and that's kind of all I know.
Elena, we have to.
Thank you so much. Yes, Chase Ironized, any final message?
No, we're gonna cut.
Thank you so much for doing this.
Yes.
And good luck.
We'll be in touch again.
Thank you very much.
Okay. Well, that's okay. That one will get out. That's from Boulder, Colorado there, but they broadcast to the whole nation. But we have here too, we have another live that has been going, and we just want you to share, what we're doing here and why we put up the second lodge here. Again, Grandma.
Yeah, she said it good.
Mm-hmm.
The same way?
Yeah.
Okay. My name is Josephine Sam Dick, and I'm a member of the Fort McDermott Paiute Shoshone tribe. and we are here by Sentinel Rock, and another name for it is Nipple Rock. That's where this new camp came up today. And our grandson brought over this the canvas for the for this teepee that was set up this morning, and on our Mother Earth over here, opening towards the east, and why we are here is because of what Lithium Nevada is doing to our Mother Earth, and then and the water that the sacred. We are grandmothers, great grandmothers, and great great grandmothers, and that's why we're reaching out to people for them to come out and help us. We want people to come out and help us. You know, all the people come help us. Come pray with us. That's what we want. Near and far, from the youngest to the oldest. We need help. We want help. People to come help us. That's what we want. That's why we're here. Asking for help. And then this is the second camp that came up this morning. And we want everything to go good. And we are the descendants of Aksam, and he's the one that got away from here. And it's a very interesting story. In his testimony, what I read, but I have to read it over again, and to share with my sister here what his testimony was. So that's why we're here. And the food that's here, the deers and the antelopes that are here, groundhogs, and mainly the golden eagle that's got a home over there in the rocks over there. And then that's the important one, the golden eagle. I don't know what they're going to do with it. Probably they'll move his home or something. And we don't want that. We don't want them to bother that. And then also the choke cherries are ceremonial food. That's on the hillside, on that side next to the ranch. And the fish pond that's here. There's things, then the medicinal plants that are here. There's a lot of things that's here. What I mentioned was the moss that's on the rocks. That's a medicine too, and things like that. That's gonna be destroyed, and we don't want that. That's about all I can say. Thank you.
Elvida, do you want to share something?
My name is Elvida Sam Crutcher. I live on the Fort McDermott Indian Reservation, Paiute Shoshone tribe. And I don't like the idea of how the lithium is doing to the ground, screwing at our Mother Earth. We're praying people. Pray to the east, pray for good life, pray to the water every morning. That's what we still want. That we don't want the water to get all contaminated, and we love our Mother Earth. This is precious to us. We don't want the lithium to be digging up whoever that's, the workers or whoever that's digging. We don't want that for us. We don't want that for Mother Earth. The sacred birds, and we just found out that there's a little birds that are over there that was been supposed to have been destroyed, but they're living there, the little baby birds. We don't want that to happen to them. We want them, things to be living just like us. That's what I want. And for our younger generation, that's what we're asking this for. Not to disturb our Mother Earth, because of our younger generation. Other people, they don't care. They just want the money. That's what they want, and that's why they sign off on their paper or whatever they're doing. We care for our Mother Earth. That's why we're talking, this way, because we respect our Mother Earth. I don't know why people don't respect this Mother Earth that we walk upon. That's what I care for, our Mother Earth. And we want support from all over the world, the whole universe. We want supporters. We want help. That's what we need, help all over the world. That's what we want, help. Support us, come by us and come help us. Sing, pray, however way you can help us. This teepee sitting here towards the east on Nipple Rock. That's what we want. We want supporters from all over. I think that's probably all I have to say, and thank you very much.
No.
I can share a little. My name is Chase Iron Eyes, and I came here at the invite of Grandma Josephine, Elvida, other Indigenous elders, Indigenous women who are asserting themselves, who are initiating land action, an Indigenous land action. This particular territory is not subject to any treaty. It is the original country, the original nation of the Paiute and Shoshone people. It is called unceded territory. And so the United States government or any other European foreign government that came here never got permission to be here. The United States has to show how it thinks it got title to this land, because this is Paiute and Shoshone territory. Always has been, always will be. This particular PeeHee, Nipple Rock, or Sentinel Butte, it's a very precious, very sacred site that is integral to the Paiute Shoshone worldview. This is why the second teepee was put up here, to protect this sacred site for the unborn, for the rights of those children, those babies, those relatives who also need to drink the water here between Nipple Rock and Fort McDermott. The Lithium company is attempting to construct a 10-mile long water pipeline to steal 1.7 billion gallons of Paiute and Shoshone water every single year for 40 years. Some of the ranchers have sold their water rights. Some of the ranchers felt powerless, didn't know what to do or how to resist Lithium Nevada or Lithium America or the corporate state, the corporations who are continuing to intrude upon the daily lives of not only Indigenous nations but Americans, Canadians. This lithium mining and extractive colonialism is a global issue. Our relatives in the land of the Condor in Argentina, our relatives in Bolivia, face the same corporate intrusion. In fact, they overthrew or initiated a coup against Evo Morales in Bolivia. It's the same colonial apparatus that is coming and intruding upon Paiute and Shoshone territory. The United States of America, its federal agencies, we've gone to them. We've told them this is the site of 2 massacres. The Paiute and Shoshone bones and flesh and blood is on this land. We've told them that Nipple Rock, PeeHee, is a site that they can't live without. It's a matter of time before we unite all of our common struggles. Because if we don't stand together, if the American people don't see that Grandma Josephine and Elvida's struggle is their struggle too, then the American people, the Canadian people, are going to lose their right to clean water, their right to free speech, their right to peaceably assemble. We're going to lose our rights to access our sacred sites and pray in the way that we've done for tens of thousands, millions of years. We're going to lose that if we don't defend it. And Oksam Camp is a way that we defend those rights. There's currently lawsuits within the federal court system, the court of the colonial powers, and their ability to assert themselves in our lives has gone on for ever since the creation or the invention of the reservation and the federal Indian that is tied to the reservation. But that path will lead to our extinction. This is why I'm happy to stand with my grandmothers here today. I'm happy that our spiritual altars have sent this tipi candy, that this tupara, this paddle of jade, which was given to me during the No Dapple stand. And they told me to use this. I can use it as a shield, or it can be used to defend our way of life, our people, our families. So our families will always have water. They'll always have land. They'll always have air to breathe. They'll always have the ability to be a nation. Even those that move about this earth in a sacred manner, the way that we do on two legs, the four-legged, the beings that crawl, the beings that fly, they're with us here today. They've blessed this camp. We saw it with our own eyes, how it happened. And we're doing everything we can inside the law, inside those institutions, and we're doing everything we can according to spiritual law and the law of nations, the international character, the international identity that we have as indigenous nations. We have a right to say no. We have a right to be consented. They should come and get our free, prior, and informed consent, according to the United Nations Declaration on the Rights of Indigenous Peoples. But they're not doing that. We have a right to have these massacre sites in this hallowed ground protected on the National Register of Historic Places or on the World Heritage Site protection. We have that right. It should be happening. But where is President Biden? Where is the Secretary of the Interior? Where are all the legislators? Where are all the organizations that say they stand with indigenous nations and want to defend indigenous rights? We know that there are many that support us. And we know that they stand with us. But the United States can no longer ignore the Paiute and Shoshone people. That's why we're here. Because if we don't assert ourselves and assert our sovereignty, they're slowly going to drive us to extinction and consume us. I just wanted to share a little bit about how we're going to support our grandmothers and how we're going to continue to stand here at Oksam Camp in PeeHee Mu'huh. You know, what we're asking is not a lot. What we're asking is people take a look and follow the law, follow your rules, consider the whole truth, the whole story of the proposed largest lithium mine in the United States of America. This whole place is going to be destroyed. And we're saying it can't be that way. It doesn't need to be that way. But we need people to do their jobs at the federal level, and we need supporters to come and stand with us if you're willing. You know, if you're seeking a different path, a different reality, a spiritual connection to the universal elements, that is you. that is here on the land of the Paiute and Shoshone people. This is why I came. These are powerful times from the spring equinox to the fall equinox is our time of ceremony. Drastic action. Because they want to be heard. They have a right to be heard. They have a right to be here. This mining company shouldn't be able to build this road and steal their water and destroy their sacred site, adding insult to injury. We can't let that happen. So we're asking you to stand with us and to continue to pay attention. And we do these live feeds from time to time because it's easier to upload it at that time. But what some of the people who pay attention on the live feeds don't see a lot of what happens here. The awakening that is happening here. And I just want to thank our grandmothers. I want to thank Grandma Josephine and Elvida for allowing us into your country, into your territory, into your lands. And we're going to help you defend it.
Yes.
Wopila. Thank you. Pija'u.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Can you call the Reese's phone? Oh yeah,